Hey guys, Nightfox here, and welcome back to another one of my weekly power rankings. This is the fifth week. There's been a little bit of shakeup in the rankings, not a whole lot. Most shows are kind of, in my mind, almost solidifying where they're going to be. But we still have about half the season to go, so there's going to be a little bit more shakeup. So let's just get into the list. So in the bottom half, it's the same exact ranking that it was last week. Brave Witches in the number 17 spot, Blood of Wars in the 16th spot, Long Riders in the 15th spot, and then Trickster in the 14th spot. Again, these shows, not getting much out of them. I don't think there's a whole lot of substance to many of the shows, so again, honestly, I wouldn't even recommend these to you. I think you could spend your time watching better shows, so I don't even recommend you watching these ones. So let's move on to the bottom half of the middle. Alright, so in the 13th spot we have Magic of Stella. In the 12th place spot we have Bungo Stray Dogs. In the 11th spot we have Yuri on Ice. And in the 10th spot we have Occultic 9. So Magic of Stella, there's not much more to say than what I've been saying the past weeks. This is just, I feel, where it's going to be. Yeah, there's nothing really more to say about Magic of Stella that I haven't already said in previous weeks. Bungo Stray Dogs dropping to the 11th spot. I don't know what it is. I'm just having some issues with this show. There's just things that are irking me about where the show's going and how it's progressing. So I'm not sure. I'm just not getting the same vibes that I was getting from the first season. So maybe I might wait another week or two. But if the issues don't change, I might just make a video trying to really elaborate on the problems I'm having with the show and why I'm so surprised that it's been dropping this far in the rankings. So Yuri on Ice in the 11th spot. This week just wasn't as strong as it usually was, honestly. I mean, there was a nice little section of the episode, but overall I think it's just not as strong as I would have liked it to be. From what I've seen from the show so far, I just feel like it wasn't as good as it usually was. And then in the 10th spot we have Occultic 9. So Occultic 9 is one of the toughest shows for me every week because I'm liking where it's going. I would have liked to put it higher than 10 because I like what it's doing. I liked this week's episode. I thought it was good. But the main issue I keep having with this show is just the pacing. I feel like it's just constantly all over the place, and it makes the narrative kind of hard to follow at some points. So I don't know. Like I've said before, I feel like this may be a whole package show where you really need to get everything before you can really see the show as a whole. So that's what I'm hoping, because I'm really liking the story. I'm liking what they're doing. I'm liking the mystery and the thriller aspects that are in there. But just the pacing is one thing that just is a continuing, I'd say, a continuing issue that I am having with the show currently. But here's hoping that it starts to make a little bit clearer of a plot, or makes a more clearer pacing, and starts to settle into maybe a better rhythm moving forward. But for now, the 10th spot was the highest I could put it. So moving on to the upper half of the middle, we have in the number 9 spot Babuki Baranki Season 2. In the 8th spot we have Drifters. In the 7th spot we have Izetta the Last Witch. And in the 6th spot we have Nambaka. So Babuki Baranki, this week was quite good. We got some character development as well as some really nice action scenes. As usual, Babuki Baranki really does action scenes well, and it's really killing it. So yeah, it just was a really good, strong episode this week. I'm excited to see where it goes next week because I feel like this is going to be kind of like a 2 episode kind of deal for these two, for this and next week, because it's kind of like they had a story this episode, but it didn't quite finish, so we're pushing into the next week. So I'm expecting next week will be just as good. So I'm looking forward to the next episode. Drifters falling again, it's the same issue I had with it last week, where we've had this arc and we've been going through it, and I just feel like it's dragging. I want to see something new. I want to see the story progress forward, because I feel like we're just kind of sitting in the same spot we have been for the last few episodes and just spinning our wheels and not really getting anywhere, which to me is quite disappointing, because When I started watching this show, the first few episodes, I was really excited. I thought this was going to be a really strong show of the season. And don't get me wrong, it's still quite a good show. It's just not as strong as I feel like it could have been if it continued to push forward and move the story along. But for now, we're just kind of sitting in the same spot. I mean, again, don't get me wrong, it's still an entertaining show. It's still a good show. It's just I feel like they had a lot of potential that they're not fully capitalizing for this show. So that's why it's in the number 8 spot. In the number 7 spot, we have Izetta the Last Witch, up a ranking, up a spot or two from last week. This episode was just really fantastic. It got back to one of the most strongest points of this show, in my opinion, and it's the fight scenes with Izetta, flying around on her gun, having these crazy dog fights. I think that's, in my opinion, one of the strongest points of the show, and this week was full of it. We had a lot of that fighting with her magic against planes, and then we also had a little bit of development at the end, not a whole lot, but a little hint of where the plot is going to go, which again I liked. We're kind of getting a more clear plot as the weeks go on, which was one of my main criticisms at the beginning of the show, is I didn't really know where the plot was going to be, but I feel like they've really solidified that, and they know what they want to do moving forward, and I'm agreeing with it, and I think it's really shaping up to be a very strong show for this season. In the 6th spot, again, Nanbaka, great episode this week. Much like last week, I'm really appreciating how, even though it's a comedy show, they're throwing in different things. It's not just straight jokes the whole time. There's a storyline, albeit it's quite a thin one. It's not a very plot heavy show, because that's just not how the show is working right now. It's thin plot, but still there's this plot there, and they're throwing in different elements. It's not all just jokes and gags all the time. We're having some drama elements. We're having some action elements. We're having some battles, and it's really cool. I like how they're throwing in all these extra little not genres, but maybe motifs would be the correct word into the show, and it's really working well together. It's really assimilating very well with the comedic main genre that the show is. So yeah, I'm appreciating the show. I think it's a fantastic show and one of the best comedies I've seen in a very long time. So yeah, I would have no problem suggesting that you guys give Nanbaka a try. So moving in the top 5, a little bit of a reshuffling in the top 5. Number 5, we have Magical Girl Raising Project this week. Was still a good episode. Obviously, it's still in the top 5, so it's still a fantastic show. This episode, I just feel, was more of a transition episode. There wasn't a whole lot going on. It was kind of, I feel, setting the stage for what's going to come in the next episodes. The stakes are getting higher and higher every week. I feel like we're almost reaching that climax point of the show where everything starts to come tumbling down. So I'm really excited to where the show's going to go. I don't see it leaving the top 5 anytime soon. Fantastic show. Just this week was a little bit slower than some of the other shows this week. Number 4, Kaijo. Again, not much more to say than what I've been saying all the previous weeks. Great battle shonen, really capitalizing on all those tropes that we have in the battle shonen while being entertaining. And I feel like some people maybe still suck up on the fan service, but honestly, it's a very small part of the show, and I think even if you took the fan service out, it's still a very strong show. I mean, obviously, it needs to be in there because that's one of the main plot points of the show, but understanding that, but I just think it's a great battle shonen, and it's doing its genre well, and there's nothing really more that I can say that I haven't said already. So, in the number 3 spot, we have Sound Euphonium Season 2, a drop, but I mean, I think that's to be expected. The last 2 weeks, it's had fantastic episodes that have really just blown it out of the water, knocked it out of the park, whatever phrase you want to use. And so this week we took a step back and just kind of slowed the pace down, just kind of took a breather from the super good episodes we had from the last 2 weeks. So I feel like it's to be expected, and I wouldn't be worried for this show at all. I just don't think it's going to be a fantastic show for this season. In the number 2 spot, we have Ajin Season 2. Good episode this week. Some drama, some action. I would have liked a little bit more action this week, but I'm okay. I feel like next week is going to be a lot more action-packed than this week, just from what we saw in the preview. So I'm really excited still for this show. It's doing everything, I think, quite well. Balancing the action, balancing the drama, balancing the plot moving forward correctly, even if we're bouncing between 2 different locations. and two different kind of storylines almost. I think it's doing it quite well, and I would highly recommend you watch the first season if you're interested, and then catch up with the second season. And then in the number one spot is going to be March Comes In Like a Lion. Now, this show was very strong this week. Again, we had some more of the inner monologues, much like we had last week from Ray, where we had a lot of backstory given to him about his past and all that. I feel like not as much past this week, but still a lot of inner monologues and really getting his thoughts about where he is in life and how he got there and what he really needs to do and how he feels about life in general. So again, smashing it with the slice of life genre. They're really killing it. I have a really strong main character. I'm really excited to see how he develops over the course of this show because I can almost guarantee you there's going to be some major character development for this guy throughout the show, being it having it have 23 episodes. So really excited with this show. Strongest episode of the week. So that's where we're at in week 5 of the power rankings. If you want to get any more in depth and check out any of my first impression videos for any of the shows I've listed here, I'll leave a link for that in the description down below. There's some more videos coming out on the horizon, so if you want to stay up to date and get notified when those come out, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you agree or disagree with my list in any way, shape, or form, feel free to leave me a comment in the section down below. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.